And you are the face currently, Will.
Yep, I can see it just went live. Hey everybody, hope y'all are doing well. And whoa, it might just popped up. Now my face. I'm staring back at myself. But hope everybody's doing well, and say hello in chat if you feel so inclined. But excited to have you on this training with Dr. Feisal Hassan, attorney at law, NASA scientist. I'm not sure if either one of those are accurate, but we'll just run with it. Hi, Alice. And today's training is about beating aggressive net players. So excited to learn about that one because I don't like playing them. So we'll get started probably in about 5 minutes. It's about 6, according to my computer, it's 6:56. Feisal, have you done a quick? You want to do a quick run through just to make sure slides pulled up or everything, or are you pretty sure you're good there?
Let me just go screen share.
Yeah.
Alrighty. You guys see me? Got it?
Let me see if we can. I think you have to. All right, I'm toggling you to present to everybody. So let's see. All right, now it's you.
See it?
Now it says I see you.
You don't see my slide?
Adam, you want to?
Well, yeah. So Feisal, remember that down in the lower right-hand corner where you see the portraits, you see yourself. Click the down arrow and then choose Present to Everybody.
Okay. To everybody, that's checked off. All right. Do that again. All right. Got it?
Yep. Yep, looking good.
Hold on.
Hey George, what's up, man? How are you? Howard, what's going on? Glad you can see us okay. Feisal, does your facility have indoor tennis courts?
Yes, we got 4 indoor clay courts.
Oh, they're indoor clay, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Are they climate controlled at all, or is it just sort of?
It's kind of chilly. No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha. Hey Peggy, what's going on? What's up, Richard? Glad to have you here as well.
Just so everybody knows who's joining the chat live, we aren't saying anything at the moment, but you should be seeing Faisal's screen. How to play net rushers in doubles.
And we'll give it like another minute before we get started. Just see some folks joining the training. So it's 7 o'clock. We'll give it one more minute just to let the late arrivals get on, but then we'll get going. Feisal, you watched the Super Bowl on Sunday?
Yes, I did. It's amazing. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Best Super Bowl I think I've ever seen.
I know, true.
Questionable play call there at the end, though.
Yep. So.
Richard asks, Australia was awesome. Favorite moment? That's a tough one. I don't know if I probably would have like a top 3. I still have to think it through. I enjoyed presenting to the coaches down there because I think what I had to share was different from what has typically been shared in the past. Enjoyed meeting a lot of people. The Aussies are amazing, amazing people, just very welcoming and fun to hang around with. So that was great. And that's top 2. I don't know if to think about number 3, but it was just a fun trip. Feisal, you have a top 1 or 2 or something like that for your trip?
I think the third one should be having dinner with me on that Sunday night. I think that should be a third one.
That was on Friday night, right?
Yes.
That was Friday night at what was the name of that place?
Nando's. Nando's.
Oh, that one. I thought you meant I thought you were referring to the coaches dinner. Yeah, Nando's was a highlight, dude. I went back there afterwards because that food was so good.
Yeah, told you.
Yeah, that was key. That was a key suggestion. All right, well, I will stop talking about Nando's. Adam, we all set to go?
Indeed, we are.
All right, well, great. Feisal, you good to go?
Yes, sir. All good to go.
All right, well, I will do a very brief introduction just to welcome everybody. I think you can see me now. Just to welcome everybody to this 3rd training with Feisal Hassan on how to handle aggressive net players. We've covered the poach in great detail. We've covered how to handle lobbers. So now we're going to cover the other kind of opponent that a lot of recreational players struggle with, and that's the team that takes control of the net, takes the net away from you. Very pesky opponent for many recreational players. So we're gonna, without further ado, Feisal, I'm gonna kick it to you, and we will let you take it away. And as always, if you have a question, post it in chat. I will monitor and record the questions, and we'll stop periodically to answer questions. But with that in mind, Feisal, happy to be back on the line with you, and take it away, man.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for everyone for attending today. I'm excited about this seminar. Let's just begin, and we'll take it from there. How to play net rushes in doubles. Once again, let's get into the mindset that all of us on this webinar are thinking about. Number 1, doubles mindset is to make them play. Make them play. Your goal is to decrease your risk while increasing your opponent's risk. Make the opponents play to gather intelligence to see what the opponents can really do. We can't do that if we go for winners or make errors. So with this slide, just think of making them play. Have them hit a lot of balls, make them play so you can gather information on how to handle them. Doubles percentage tennis is what is the simplest shot we can hit that will allow us to win a point. Keep that in mind. Said another way, what is the least risk we can take to win a point? The most common error is to use too much speed and play too much to the side of the court, especially against net rushes. I've noticed players that play against net rushes try to overcome with speed. They'll end up overhitting it, and then obviously you don't get much information from the match, so how do you make adjustments if you don't get much information? So only take risks when your opponents show us that we have to do this. So that's the mindset. Tennis is a rhythm sport. The opponent's job is to break your team rhythm, and your job as a team is to break their rhythm. How many times have we said we didn't play our game? We just didn't play our game yesterday. In my opinion, the opponents took your game away by hitting balls that neither you nor your partner liked. They sabotaged your game. In this situation, the opponents are net rushers and aggressive territorial players. What I mean by territorial is net rushers are coming in to take away time and space away from you. Right. 6 chord zones. If you look at this side of the screen here, this is your part of the court. Let's break it down into 6 bite-sized chunks so we can understand things better. Zone 1 is from the net to halfway. Zone 2, halfway to the service line. Zone 3, service line to the 3/4 line. Zone 4 to the baseline. Zone 5 and 6 are from the baseline to the back fence. This line is halfway. So these are the chord zones that I want you to think about where the opponent is positioned. We've got 6 chord zones. My question for all of you is, which zones are net rushers and aggressive poachers comfortable with? Which zones are they uncomfortable with? Your goal is to put them in uncomfortable positions so you take them out of their comfort zone. So generally speaking, net rushers like to play in zones 1, 2, and 3. So how can we sabotage them so you get them playing in zones 4, 5, and 6, which will allow you then to come in and take control of the net. So those are the 6 zones you want to be aware of. Understanding the net rushers' comfort zones. There are 2 comfort zones for every player. One in relation to the court, one in relation to the player's body. In relation to the court, think of their positioning. This involves where the player is located on the court. So back to this slide, obviously, like we said, zones 1 and 2 are where the net rushers are comfortable with. So that's positioning. Balance, affecting your player's balance. Strike zone, where the opponent strikes the ball for the shot in relation to the body. So your goal in terms of taking away the net rushers' comfort zones is, can you affect their positioning, balance, strike zone to govern the decision making you're going to make. So I'm going to explain each one in depth now.
Hey Feisal, let me jump in real quick. Is there somebody like running a machine or something in the background? There's a little background noise on your end.
What am I in? Nope, nothing here. Nothing going on my end.
Adam, can you hear that, or is that just?
I can hear it too. I can hear. I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think somebody like a printer or somebody vacuuming.
It's nothing on my end. It's gone.
Huh. Interesting. Well, maybe it's the phantom vacuum cleaner. All right. Well, yeah, it's gone now as well. So why don't we can keep going?
Okay.
No idea what that was, but go ahead.
Okay, so back to the comfort zones: position, balance, and strike zone. Positioning, obviously, like I said, the location on the court, could use the zones, the balance of the player as they're hitting the ball, and their strike zones, where they strike the ball. There's 3 strike zones. We can explain each one later. Right. Positioning on the court. Recognize where the opponents are. You could use the zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or to keep it simple, is the opponent inside the court? Are they behind the baseline, or they're in the alley? So obviously an opponent would like to be inside the court. If you have them behind the baseline or in the alley, you've taken away the net rusher's positioning. So think of that as far as positioning. Positioning up at net rushes. If you stood up at net and you want to be able to look over the net, this line right here is what I call the offensive line. You've got this junior tall as he is, I tell players to start off up close, and if you were standing right up here, right up to the net, all of us, despite our height, will be able to see the opponent's service line above the net. So this line right here is a positioning where this gentleman right here cannot see the opposing service line above the net. This is what I call the offensive line. Ideally, are you close or are you deep? Net rushers like to be in close. Your goal is to keep them away from this positioning. So what we addressed here was the positioning from the backcourt of the net rusher, if they're back. In this situation, the net rusher's position. So you're looking at, if we spoke about zones, this is zone 1, this is zone 2, this is probably, let's call this zone 2 back. This is zone 2 up. So net rushers like zone 1 and zone 2 up. So your goal is to avoid them being in this position in an attacking mode. So that's positioning on the backcourt right here, in alley back, or the front court using the offensive line, calling it close and deep, or you could use the zones. So either one. We'll get to that. Balance. Is the opponent having balance when they strike the ball? Is it perfect, average, or poor? Your goal is to ensure that when the opponent's hitting the ball, they either have average or poor balance. If they're perfectly balanced, they've got a good chance of hitting a good shot. That's balance. Strike zone. We spoke about this last time. 3 strike zones. From the ground to mid-thigh is strike zone 1. Mid-thigh to chest is strike zone 2. Chest above is strike zone 3. So net rushes, if they're up at net, like balls in terms of volleys, in strike zone 3 and maybe upper level of strike zone 2. So your goal, if the net rush is up at net, is to take away their strike zone, whether hitting it low or hitting it way high above the net, above the head as a lob. So that's the strike zone. Like we said, up at net, I like to break it real simple. So this positioning right here, these strike zones pertain to ground strokes. When you're up at net, I like to keep it real simple. Let's use it in relation to the chest. Anything above the chest is high. Anything below the chest is low. So net rushes like higher balls. Your goal to affect their rhythm is try to keep it low. I will explain this a little later on and get more specific. All right. What you have here is a flow chart. I'm going to explain the flow chart in depth. I'm going to give you the overview first, work on the separate pieces, then put it together. So anytime you're playing against somebody, in this situation, the net rushes, think of the 3 Ps: plan, placement, position. So start off with a plan. I'll explain each one. If the plan's not working, you can change within a plan, or you can stay within the plan, change your shot placement. If that isn't working, change your position. So let's say I like plan A. I like to serve or return and stay back, and that's my forte. I can stay in plan A, my shot, to sabotage the net rusher. If that's not working, I can change my positioning. Plan A is not working, I can change to plan B. Within plan B, I can do the same thing. Change my shot placement, these are the options. If that's not working, change my positioning on the court. Or, I don't like plan A, don't like plan B, change to plan C. If I want to stick to plan C, I can change my shot placement. If that doesn't work, I can change my positioning. So there's several options to how you can proactively play against a net rusher. So I will explain each of these in depth. I'm going to explain each plans right now, then I'm going to explain each of the shot placement options, then I'm going to explain each of the positioning options. So with this here, you've got a large recipe on how to handle the net rusher, to be proactive and try the different options here. So that's the overview. I'm now going to explain each one in depth. Right, let's go with the plans first. Right. Change the doubles plan. Right, there's 3 plans: plan A, plan B, plan C, as you saw in the flow chart. Plan A is to serve or return and stay back, period. What this means is you're never going to come into the net. You're just going to stay back, play half-court singles, keep going cross-court. Your goal in this situation is just waiting for the opponent to screw up and rely on the unforced errors. That's all you're trying to do. So if you're having net rushes coming in, just try to grind away, staying 1 up, 1 back. Net rushes typically are too aggressive. Maybe they'll mess up their volleys and overheads, and you can rely on the unforced errors. That's plan A. Plan B is you can serve or return and stay back and choose the right time to come into the net. The goal for this plan is you're going to reduce your unforced errors. How? By staying back, and then when you choose the right time to come to the net, you then can increase their forced errors. That's plan B. Plan C now is to serve and volley or return and come in immediately. The goal for this plan is to increase the opponent's forced errors. So right here, we've explained each of the plans. So against the net rusher, you could interchange or keep adjusting within the plans. You could do plan A. Plan A isn't working, you could do plan B. Plan B isn't working, do plan C. None of these plans work, stick to one plan, and then start changing your shot placement. Let's go into shot placement. Right. Let's say you choose plan A, to serve and return and stay back, period, and you want to do that. Placement option-wise, you can change your shot. Do we play their game? I'm going to explain that. Do we change the distance of our shot? Do we change the direction? Do we change the spin? Or do we change the speed? Your choice. That isn't working. Placement isn't working. You still want to stay in plan A, but you want to change the positioning. Other option is, or do we change our positioning option? So within plan A itself, right here, you've got these options within. So if you're a plan A player, this could be your domain you want to focus on. Plan A. What I'm going to explain now is plan B. You're a plan B player. These will be your options right here. If you're a plan C player, these are your options right there. So let me explain. I just explained plan A. Same thing for plan B. Change the placement of your shot. Do we change the shot placement, play the game, distance, direction, spin, speed, or stay plan B, change your positioning? I'm going to explain that later. Plan C, same thing. We like to follow your shot in. Do we play their game? Do we change the distance of our shot? Do we change the direction? Do we change the speed or the spin? Or do we change our positioning? So that's the overview on the flow chart right here. Now what I'd like to do is explain each of these, changing your shot placement, and I'm going to explain changing your positioning as a team. All right, shot placement. Play number one, shot play number one. Play the game in plan A. The key to plan number one, them touch the ball in such an awkward way that you'll force them into making an error. The key target areas are, you could go, this is a right-handed player, aim for the right hip, hit high over the backhand shoulder, or hit at their feet. It's what I call a dip, a drive, or a lob on the backhand side. So this way, if you have the net rushes in this position, hitting volleys from this position, or hitting a high backhand overhead or volley, you're putting them in an awkward position. You've taken away their comfort zone. So that's one option. Whether you choose plan A, like in this situation, think of hitting one of these ground strokes here. Okay, that's that. I'm going to explain that. So for example, for the forehand, where you go to the racket side hip, a driving ground stroke, or a firm volley at a serve at your opponent's racket side hip will jam them and produce a weak response. This will give them a weak response, obviously. All right. Next one, high backhand. Okay, so high shot over the backhand shoulder. When you place the ball high over the opponent's backhand shoulder, you force her to hit the most difficult shot in the game, the high backhand volley. This shot is cumbersome to track and awkward to position for. It engages muscles that are rarely used, if you think about that. It will often result in a weak reply or an outright winner. So that's your option right there. View the players at the back. Third option is anytime you can put the ball at your opponent's feet, you set yourself up to win the point. Hitting this target will force your opponent to hit up, at which point you can move forward and finish the shot. So this is what I mean by playing their game. Have them come in and just try to sabotage them if you got the skills to aim for one of these target areas. You do that, you're going to get a weak response from them. So that's shot play number one. Shot play number two is to change the distance. Now players come up to the net, or even if there's a net rusher coming in, if you hit the ball in zones 1, 2, or 3 by hitting short rather than hitting deep, it makes it more difficult. You're going to get it at their feet. So that's shot play number two. Change the distance. So by hitting these shots, you're putting the net rushers in an awkward situation. They're going to get the ball back, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a weaker response to what they'd like to give you. So you are lowering their game with shot play number two by hitting short rather than deep. That's shot play two. Shot play three is aim for the angles. This person's coming in, net rusher, by hitting the angle, you get him, so positioning wise, you're getting them off the court, taking them out of their comfort zone positioning. You could affect their balance, and or you could affect their strike zone. So by hitting angles rather than deep, you're going to sabotage the net rusher. That's shot play number three. Shot play number four is change the spin. Try hitting slice and or topspin shots, as these shots will affect their strike zone. So for example, the more you hit slice, the lower it stays down. The more you hit the topspin, you could hit a topspin lob, get it in an awkward position, maybe the topspin lob to the backhand shoulder, or you could dip the ball at their feet. Going flat is one of the riskier shots, because your chance of errors increase, and net rushers like the harder hit shots. By going with topspin and slice, you could affect their rhythm based on changing the tempo of the spin of the ball. So that's shot play number four. Third option is change the speed. I used this last time. This is you. If you send a ball at, so the opponent send the ball to you at 20 miles an hour, you hit it back to them at 10, you've decreased the speed. If they send it to you at 20 miles an hour, you go back to 20, you maintain the speed. If they give it to you at 10, you go back to 20, you've increased the speed. So your goal, if you're trying to change the speed, is to try to maintain, decrease, or increase the speed of your shot, as this may affect the rhythm. Topspin will have it above their strike zone, while slice will have it below their strike zone. So a lot of times net rushers like a faster pace or increased pace. If you try to maintain or decrease, you may affect their rhythm by changing the speed. So what we just explained right there is, let me just go back to the slide, is we explained plans A, B, C. I've spoke about changing your shot placement, awkward shots to opponents. Those are the 3 targets: at their feet, at the racket hip, over the backhand shoulder, changing the distance, hitting it shorter to zones 1 or 2, changing the direction, going for more angles, changing the spin, top spin, slice to affect the rhythm, changing their speed. You could increase, maintain, or decrease. Net rushers are coming in. Their adrenaline is so high, a lot of times they're thinking hard hit balls. The minute you take the pace off or maintain the pace off, it could affect their rhythm. So therefore, by affecting the rhythm, they're going to hit a weaker shot. So that's the explanation of the shot placement. Now I'd like to go into changing your positioning. So whether you do plans A, B, or C, you can change your positioning. I'm going to get into changing of the positioning. Right? If changing your plans, A, B, or C, or changing your shot plan options don't work, then change your team court positioning. Now, what's the meaning of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Today's webinar is making us aware of all the different options and all the different menus you can use when you're playing against net rushers. What's going to work? Don't know. Giving you different options. You try them all out and see what works. So that's what we're working on. So positioning. Play positioning number 1. People are coming in. You could play both back. As the serving, you could have the server and the server's partner both back. This is something we typically do against net rushers. It's a play positioning option. If it works, go for it. So this is an option. Both play back. This formation puts both the server and the server's partner on the baseline, and used for playing using your ground strokes and disguising your ground stroke weaknesses. Why try this? You give the receiving team a different view or a defensive tactic when things aren't going your way. So that's play positioning number 1 option. Now let's look at options to playing both back. So right now, play positioning 1 is your traditional both play back. Now, play positioning 2. Variations to both back. Play positioning to both back using your ground stroke strengths and disguising your ground stroke weaknesses. So let's say I'm player A that has a strong forehand and a weak backhand. Player B, my partner, has a strong backhand and a weak forehand. So when B is serving in the deuce court and playing both back, B will stand in the singles serving position. A stands in the regular deuce court positioning. Let me explain. So right here, we're serving over here. Okay. I'm the server. I like my backhand. So once I serve, I will move over this way. This way I bait this person to hit a backhand. My partner will stay on this side of the court. Why? They can hit their forehand. So that's the first option. So instead of playing, next option is if I'm serving to the ad court, I'll stand over here. My partner will stay right where he likes to be, getting the forehand. So the server is just going to change the positioning because I like my backhand. My partner can play the entire game when I'm serving to standing here, setting up for that forehand. I would have to move based on the legalities of the game, so I've got to stand on the different hash mark on either side. So that's one positioning. Here's another example. I like my forehand. My partner likes their backhand. So this is using the example on the ad court. I will serve from here. Once I serve, I'll move over here. Why? They're hitting to my strength, which is my forehand. My partner will stay here during the entire game to set up for the backhand they like. So this is one positioning you can use. So option 1, let's just play traditionally both back. Play positioning 2 is you adjust your positioning based on your ground stroke strengths, and this is totally legal, right here. I'm serving, I'm a righty, I like my backhand. My partner likes their forehand. My partner will stay here during the entire game I'm serving. I'll make my move, so I'm sabotaging the opponent to hit to my strength. In this situation, I like my forehand. I will serve, so my partner likes their backhand. They will stay on this side of the court the entire game that I'm serving. I'll just change my positioning. So that's play positioning 2. Next one is trying the I formations. This formation is where the service partner and the server line up right down the middle of the court. There's 3 options: the traditional I serving, the short or modified I serving, I formation, and the I serving when you're both back. I'm going to explain each one. Play positioning number 3. We've seen this before. Server, service partner, do the I formation. Why? We're giving them a different look. So my partner and I will already pre-plan, whether it's coming together and talking or using hand signals, on which way, after I serve, my partner is going to move. If my partner is going to move to the right, to the left. If my partner moves to the right, I'll move to the left. So it's discussed. That's play positioning number 3, the traditional I formation. All right. Play positioning number 4, the modified I positioning. So the traditional was my partner was up here. Now, I'm now obviously demonstrating serving to the deuce court. In this time, the service partner is going to move and kneel down in front of the server, right here, 4 to 5 feet in front of the server, just enough for safety. The server serves to the body or the center of the court to reduce the angle. So the server is going to serve this way, one of these areas right here. Once the serve is made, the player in the front stands up and moves in any direction to be able to get to the ball returned by the receiving team in an attempt to get one shot at getting into the point. So you give them a different look. The player in the back simply moves to fill in the vacancy created by the front player's attempt to get to the ball, left or right. In mixed, it's when the lady could be serving and the guy is in the SP positioning. Mixed doubles, for example, a lot of times they do not hit to the guy. They keep picking on the girl. Well, in this positioning, if I'm the guy, with my lady partner serving, I can move in either direction, and at least I have a chance of getting to one of the shots and getting into the point. So that's one of the options right there. Once again, my partner and I need to discuss this, whether it's be using hand signals or coming together and talking. So you will rarely screw players up. So many times I've heard people say, a lot of teams I've worked with, the opponents have come up to them and said, "You're not supposed to do that. That's illegal." Check up in the rules of tennis. Everything is legal. So that's play positioning number 4. So play positioning 1, we're talking about as far as the I formations is the traditional, the short modified, and the I serving back. So we explained the traditional I serving, I formation, modified short I serving, play positioning number 4, play positioning number 5, this one I like, I love this one, you both back. This formation puts the server in the center of the court, like a singles player. Their partner is standing directly behind them. The serving team decides if the server will stay and move to the left or the right following the serve. So once again, we need to discuss this, whether it be hand signals or verbal discussion, and we make our move. So, and by this, you've really messed the opponents up, because now they're more worried about paying attention to what we're doing as a team versus what they're trying to do. So this is a great way to keep your opponents guessing with this baseline attack. So that's play positioning number 5. All right. Now let's talk about if you're the receiving team and you are in whether it's plans A, B, or C. Positioning number 6 is the Australian formation right here where you both are back. Here's the returner serving to the deuce court. Here's the return. After the return, so once the returner has hit, we actually switch sides. So this formation puts both players on the baseline and then potentially switching sides. So as soon as this return is hit, returner goes this way, receiver goes this way. So you just keep them moving, trying to distract them. It's more of a distortion tactic. You try to take the attention away and have them focus more on your movement. So reasons for doing this: the receiving team wants to return and then switch places to play their stronger sides. You could do it that way. The receiving team wants to distract the serving team. So you could do this move, and once again, this is legal. You talk of messing these guys' heads, this move will just totally mess them up. So that's play positioning number 6. Play positioning number 7 is the I formation in the receiving, where you both back. So once again, the receiver in this situation, the deuce court, is in the regular receiving position. The receiver's partner is positioned directly behind. Now what happens now? Let's talk about it now. This is where we discuss. These are the options. Right. If the serve goes wide, the receiver will move this way, since their body momentum is going that way, and the receiver's partner will move to the ad court. So if the serve is wide to the deuce court, the front receiver will move to their right to return the serve. The partner behind them will move over and up toward the ad court and defend that part of the court. This helps put both players in motion. So that's this plan right here. In the I receiving, both back. Which way do we move? Depends on the type of serve. In this situation, if it goes wide, this is the way we'll move. Other situation, if the serve is down the tee, the receiver's got to move this way. Receiver's partner will go to the vacated court. So if the serve is up the tee, the front receiver will move to their left to return the serve and will continue moving to the ad court following the return. The partner behind will move up and go to the deuce court. Once again, this has both players in motion. It's definitely creating a lot of motion. With motion comes commotion. Hopefully, if you've trained this, with all the motion you have, it may cause commotion on this side. If we haven't trained this, this motion will cause emotion and commotion on this side. So let's make sure when you do train this, you and your partner are very versed on this. But hopefully, a proactive move, motion to create emotion on this side. So that's play 7. The other option, ready for this one? The I formation, reversed receiving formation. Here's the returner. This is correct, no typo. This is the receiver's partner. So what happens is, this is the receiver. This formation puts the receiver and the partner on the same side of the court. The receiver, in this situation, the deuce court, is in the regular position, but slightly further back. The receiver's partner is positioned directly in front of the receiver. So both players are lined up in the deuce court. Once or as the server begins to serve, the receiver's partner moves to the vacant side, either up at net or back to the baseline. It's going to have to be done quickly. So it's one of these moves. As the server begins his motion, not as they hit the ball, the receiver's partner will immediately just move back this way. Depending on the plan you're doing, A, B, C, will come in. So once again, you're creating a lot of commotion here. Okay, a lot of motion with hopefully commotion. So that's the option. That's play 7, option 3. All right, so those are all the formations. So real quick, what I've quickly gone over is plans A, B, C. We explained the shot placement, awkward shots to the opponents, the feet, the right hip, the racket hip, or the backhand shoulder, the both back using your strengths, traditional I formation, the short I formation, the I formation when you're both back, when you're receiving, the Aussie both back, the I both back, and the reversed both back. So hopefully I started off with this flow chart, explained the big picture, and broke each of these components into smaller pieces so you all could understand it, and now I've explained everything. So that's that. One last thing. So aggressive poachers. So typically net rushes are very aggressive, especially poaching. So against an aggressive poacher, play number 1 shot is keep them honest. So you know this person's poaching. Try going here, try going down the line. If not, go at them. When we say at them, it could be at their feet, at their right hip, or lob over their backhand shoulder. Or you change your positioning place. Try the 5 different return positions mentioned earlier. So that's how you could handle the aggressive poacher. So once again, you've tried all these options, as in you've tried all these. Lots of options. You've got enough time, 2 out of 3 sets, to try the different options. If none of these work, well, here's the reality check. You have 3 types of doubles teams. Teams that are weaker than you, teams that are equal than you, teams that are stronger than you. If you're trying all these options we've introduced today, and it's not working, they're just a stronger team. Accept that. Just try. If all shot placement that, they're a stronger team. Just try the different options. At least for today's game, you can say you were proactive in your adjustments. At least you can say, hey, we tried everything. It never worked. They just beat us. At least this way, you are more of a proactive team versus a reactive team. So that is the choices and the suggestions I have for how to handle net rushes. That is my webinar. I'm now excited for the questions. Let me set up with this. It's all yours, Will.
Wow, that was incredible stuff. I don't know if you were following the chat, but Richard said, that is incredible. I've never seen this strategy used on court by anyone. Ha. And I think that's probably the case for most of the folks either watching this live or watching on replay. Very, very creative in terms of dealing with net rushers. Let me start off with a question by Steve, and then obviously everybody else, please feel free to post questions, and I'll relay them to Feisal. But Steve says, doesn't this assume that the receiving team can keep the return away from the net person who has incredible angles to work with if both players are starting far back or they're starting in strange formations? So how does this work when, at least on the receiving side, with these formations, when you have a net guy who's pretty aggressive and maybe is doing a good job of picking off some returns?
Okay, so you're the receiving team, and the player is, the service partner is very aggressive. I'm trying to find that screen. My suggestion, go to change your positioning, and like we traditionally do, we just play both back. But in this situation, I've got it reversed. So what's being asked right now is so let's assume this is the serving team. Here's the server, here's the service partner. So what Steve, right? What Steve was saying is,
Steve, yeah.
Yes, you've got the service partner over here. This guy's serving so well that the receiver, let's say this is the receiver, is having a hard time keeping away from the net person. But if my partner were up here, my partner's going to get tattooed. Just play both back. At least you weather the storm of the return that goes to the net player, try to get it back, and then you change the option. So once again, what Steve is saying is you've got an aggressive poacher. All right, back to this. If you can, try aiming for one of these areas. Well, the serve is so strong, I'm just happy I'm getting it in. So, partner, Will, you're my partner. I'm just happy I'm getting it in. Unfortunately, today, I'm hitting it to the net player. And if you're the player up at net, I suggest we play both back. At least we weather the storm of the return, and then so we play both back, see what happens after that. Because remember, there's one shot you cannot control, is the opponent's serve. This server is serving so well, I am having a hard time keeping away from the net player. Well, partner, I can't help you much today. Could you help me and have less pressure on me by coming back? So that's my recommendation, Steve.
Would you recommend at any situation trying to keep the net guy honest if he's just poaching repeatedly, kind of try and go down the line a couple times? Obviously, it worked. That's an easier solution if you're able to handle the guy's serve. But if it's obviously a dominant serve, then
right, maybe
you're just battling to get the ball over the net.
Right. So if you can, so if we added these targets, let's throw another target in. Try going down the alley here. Once again, though, I'm taking the assumption the server is serving so well, Steve's having a hard time controlling that shot. So just try to get it in. Will my partner come back with me? Let's just try to weather that first volley that this player's hitting, and let's see what happens after that. So that's my recommendation.
Yep, and one thing that's worked well, Steve, for me in that situation is, or at least works better, I guess, than trying nothing, is I adjust my position as the returner. If I'm having trouble handling the serve, I might take a couple steps back, or if the guy's beating me, pulling me off the court, I might step forward and try and cut off the angle. So that would be something you can try just from a return adjustment standpoint, because certainly, at least I'm sure there's a case for you as well, but for me, there's been matches where I start off returning relatively poorly, and I have to do something to get my return under control.
Right. So I like what Will said. Back to the 3 Ps. As the returner, the server's serving so well, you can barely change the placement of your shot. Well, like Will said, then change your positioning as the receiver. Just think of the 3 Ps: plan, placement, position. Server's serving so well, the plan right now is, oh Lord, I just want to get it in. Placement is, I cannot place it well. Well, then change your positioning. We address the positioning of the team. You can also change your physical position as the receiver. Correct, Will. I like that. Thank you.
And Steve, as a follow-up, asks, he was referring to trying one of the Aussie both back formations. Would you only do this if you could return back to the server? I guess so. Steven, correct me if I'm wrong, but he basically says, would you only use this formation if you kind of knew you could get the ball back to the server as he was serving and volleying?
My answer is yes and no. If you try the same thing over and over again, it starts working. So right now, I'm the person up at net, and I'm having a feast with your return. But I'm used to you being both back, right? You try the Aussie both back, all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? You know, you may get into the guy's head. What I'm getting at in this flow chart is try something. You're not going to know if it's going to work until you try it. So let's say, Steve, you and I were playing, and you know, both you and I were having a hard time returning, and we just chose to do the both back, the traditional both back. And we didn't even try one of these. Well, after the match, would it help if we said, you know, I wonder if we would have tried the Aussie both back if it would have worked. So my suggestion, you don't know till you tried. I'd say try it. Why not? What's it to lose anyway? The guy is poaching the shots. Try something different. Give him a different look. He may change his mind. So give it a try. Give it a try.
Yeah, it's sort of troubleshooting the problem. For whatever reason, it reminds me of when your cable might go out, or your TV or DVD player isn't working properly, and you kind of just push a bunch of buttons in somewhat logical order, but you're kind of just trying to figure out which one is going to make the thing turn on.
Exactly. Exactly.
So Alice asks, do both players need to be good movers to make these alternate positions work?
It would be nice. It would be nice if both could move well. But let's say you're playing, so for example, I'm not moving well, okay? For some reason, my medication hasn't kicked in, or I'm not playing well, or my knee is bothering me. Well, if I'm playing with Alice, she's a stronger player today, she's moving well today. Well, what if we had you do most of the movement today? So I'm the service partner, my knee is bothering me, I'm just going to stay put. Alice, you do all the running, girlfriend, it's all yours. So you could do it in both situations. Here's another option you could do it. How about this position? This is me. I'm not moving very well today. Alice, you're on fire today. Well, you do all the movement. So, yes, I suggest doing it both with both players are good movers, or one player is not moving well, period, based on their age or medical disability or whatever, or they're just having a bad day. It at least puts you in the game. Because typically, if I'm having a bad day, I'm this player, and we do our traditional formations, they're going to pick on me like crazy, and you're going to feel helpless, like, how can I help you? I know you're not moving well today, Feisal. How can I help you? Well, change the positioning so that you can see more action and create it that way, whether it's this or whether it's doing one of these moves. It's just so much fun. I mean, it's just, there's so many different options, scenarios you can use it. Partner's playing well, you're not playing well, you're both moving well, so give it a try. Hope that answers your question, Alice.
So Dave asks, in the Aussie Open women's doubles final, we saw one team use the Australian I formation. Is there a reason we didn't really cover that here?
Okay. Let's go to how I like to describe the difference between the Aussie and the I. Okay. To me, the I is you forming an I here. Right? The Aussie formation is typically the service partner would be here. The service partner could now be on this side of the court. So you could even use it on the Aussie formation. So you could change it, but I've had more success just using the both back and the traditional I. So the Aussie, the difference between the Aussie and the traditional is just where the service partner is located. In the I formation, it's right here. In the Aussie, the service partner is smack in this box. And typically, I use the Aussie if the receiver hits these great angles. And I, as the server, have tried changing my placement options on the serve. It's not working. So I use the Australian where service partners here basically tell the receiver, hey, I got your number. You're going to go for the angle, go for it. I'm here to help you out. So you could do these formations here in the Aussie too, just being positioned over here. So
Edgar asks, when receiving using the reverse I formation, wouldn't the receiver's partner be in the way of the server's shot? And I can imagine the server complaining about this. How does that work? So I guess one question would be, yeah, so right here, so the returner's partner, what would happen if the server starts complaining? And I guess the second question would be, what happens if you're, and this is just me adding it, if you're the returner, obviously your partner in front of you could screw you up or make it hard to see the server hitting the ball. How does that all work out?
Okay, first one is a rule question. The rules advocate that the service partner and the receiver's partner can stand anywhere on the court. In fact, there's one of the moves I actually used to teach some of my high school players is I'd call it the bench. If there were a bench here, I'd actually have the receiver's partner or the service partner sit on the bench. literally as the server began to serve, I'd then plan a move. So the receiver's partner can stand anywhere they want. So based on the rules of the game, they can stand anywhere they want. Now, do understand, the minute you start getting this fancy, these people are going to start questioning you. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Just make them state, I've forgotten what page it is on, the USTA rules and that. Friend of the court, I can find it out later, but just to have them say, check up on page so-and-so. Now, back to, so I hope that answered that question. Now, this is Will. I'm in Will's periphery. I'm in his way. Well, I could check. Right now, I am squared to the net. I could say, hey, Will, how do you want me to position myself? Do you want me to stagger my stance? Do you want me more at a diagonal so that you can see? Do you want me to actually crouch down to obviously avoid in your vision? Feisal, you got a big butt. You're in the way. Well, based on my big butt, I better move my positioning differently. So this is where the discussion comes in. If the receiver feels the receiver's partner's in the way, receiver's partner needs to change their stance, the initial ready position, change your positioning somehow to help them out with that. So hope that answered the question.
Steve asked, when you follow your return to the net, what would be your first option in returning the serve in terms of speed or direction, assuming the server is coming to the net? So I'm assuming the question is you're returning and volleying, and the server is serve and volley.
Correct. Correct.
So how does that all work out?
So in terms of Faisal's paradigm, plan A, B, C, both players, the serving team and the receiving team are doing plan C. They're following their returns in. Right? I think we spoke about this in one of the webinars. Number one, keep the ball low. Keep the ball low. Keep it on the same side. It's what I call LSPC. Keep the ball low. Keep the ball on the same side. Take the pace off. Now, why low? Low you go, high you die. So number one, keep it low because this person's coming in. Number two, keep it on the same side you both are on. So let's say we're moving in this way. We're both moving in this way. Let's hit the ball to this person because we're on this side of the court. Number three, take the pace off. Why? Coming in, plan C, is a territorial attack. You're trying to come in to steal time. By hitting the ball hard, if let's say you hit the ball hard, number one, it's tougher to hit a ball hard and keeping it low. But let's say you can hit the ball low and hard. If it comes back, it backfires and takes away your own time. So generally, if you're trying a different formation and the players are coming in, plan C, keep the ball low on the same side of the court, take the pace off. If you do those three, it'll allow you and your partner time to keep closing in. So that's my recommendation.
So Steve asks, when returning from the ad side, if I wanted to lob and both players are right-handed, the server is coming to the net, where would you lob? Over the net person's backhand but to the server's forehand, or do you go for the alley? So basically, I'm in the ad court. Where should I lob the ball if I'm playing two righties?
All right, the righty's over here. Righty over here. Now, if you want to lob over the backhand side, like you said, if you lob over this backhand side here, this person's going to take it as a forehand volley or forehand overhead. But this is an option right here. If you lob over here, this person's further back, so they can't really hurt you. They can only wound you, not kill you. So that's one option. If this person's got a strong forehand, once again, change the plan and lob it over the forehand shoulder. Why? This person's got to move more. So try both. Go over this person's left shoulder, the backhand shoulder. If the person coming in has it comfortably, change it, change the plate, change the direction, and lob it over this side, more toward the alley. Once again, it's all about trying things out. You don't know something if you don't try it. So try it out. Try both.
So awesome. So that was the last question. I'm going to give folks time to answer or ask some follow-up questions, some additional questions. I wanted to make a comment from something you were saying earlier in terms of changing the placement, the pace, the speed when you are returning and obviously facing a serve and volley. Or just reminded me of something Pat Rafter said when we were filming with him, how he basically hits a serve and will take 3 steps and hit a split step. That's just sort of, he's kind of more focused on himself and his rhythm getting to the net versus really timing it against what the returners are doing. But what he said was the hardest guy he ever returned against, served and volleyed against, was Leighton Hewitt, because Hewitt would actually stand really far behind the baseline and the return would take longer to get to Pat. So he would take those 3 steps, kind of hit a split step, and still be waiting for the ball, so it completely threw off his rhythm. So, Feisal, do you have any comments about just – I kind of feel like a lot of players, when they're serving and volleying, have a very specific rhythm that they like to come forward at. And if you have any further comments on either throwing that off or just observations at the recreational level.
There's 2 kinds of footwork patterns I teach. I call it CLS, and I call it the 1-2-3 split. Okay? What you just mentioned is Patrick Rafter likes the 1-2-3 split. Now, if an opponent is further back, like Leighton Hewitt was further back returning, the 1-2-3 split, he'd be doing it way too early. So he's going to 1-2-3 split and wait for the return. If someone were closer in, taking the ball on the rise, the 1-2-3 split would be too late. So if that footwork pattern isn't working, I like to use at the recreational level the CLS. Your footwork wants to be continuous, little, and slow. I've had more success at the rec level teaching CLS versus the 1-2-3 split. I still give people the option of both. See which one's working. So as your serve motion begins, I call it walk through. Do the 1 big step for continuous, then you change into little steps. While little steps, it's easier to change directions. So you could do 1-2-3 split, 1-2-3 sprint, do a split step versus a continuous little and slow. So those are 2 different options. I think I'd like to show that more on court if we ever get a chance to actually see. So there are different options I teach.
Gotcha.
I hope the explanation, the verbal explanation helped to get a sense of it.
Made sense to me. Hopefully folks listening conceptualized it. It almost sounds like in some situations, I know at least I do this. If somebody's really getting a lot of great returns that are low on me, I almost slow my close down so I can take the ball as a ground stroke.
Thank you. Because you see, now people typically try going even faster. Well, you could go faster to take that ball earlier, but you're going in so fast, it's tough to have balance and control. I tell players, choose 1-2-3 split or choose continuous, little, and slow, as long as you can achieve 2 things. Balance and control when you're getting ready to hit that ball in plan C. Because remember, if you're in plan C, serving and volleying, it's the serve, which is the first hit, the second hit, and at best, you're going to be on your 3rd hit in a good aggressive position. if what you do between the serve and your second shot, you've got a lack of balance and control, good luck on your third shot. You're going to be on defense. So I tell players, choose 1-2-3 split or choose CLS, continue a little slow, depending on the situation, as long as you have balance and control when you're hitting that second shot after the serve.
That's great advice. Great advice. And Steve has some additional questions. He says, when the net person is poaching a lot, perhaps using signals, as the returner, should you decide where you're going to return or try to read the person and adjust your return accordingly? So it's sort of, keeping an eye out of the corner, keeping one eye on the returner and kind of deciding as the serve is traveling to you which way you're going to hit, or do you just pick a spot ahead of time and just stick with that spot and ignore the returner?
Okay.
Or excuse me, ignore the net man. Ignore what the net man is doing.
Poaching is good. So let's talk about the poacher, which we did in our webinar before. Poaching is good because it's an element of surprise, and you're giving the receiver one more thing to pay attention to. Ideally, as the receiver, I want to focus on the ball. Now, if I start changing my attention to watching which way the poacher is moving, I'm now distracted because I got one more variable to think about. Then you start mishitting, you start getting off-centered shots, you start getting frustrated because you know you're not watching the ball, but you're watching the poacher. So my suggestion is I start off with pick and stick. Someone's poaching, that's fine. Pick what shot you're going to choose and stick with it. So I don't suggest changing last minute. So just pick and stick. If the picking and sticking isn't working, change the placement of the shot. If that doesn't work, change the positioning. So I don't advocate trying to use your periphery to focus on the poacher because that's exactly what they want you to do. They want to distract you. So, hey, if it's working, though, and you can do it, go for it. But it's one more distraction or one more thing for you to focus on. So hope I answered the question there.
Yeah, Steve, that's something the Bryan brothers talk a lot about, is dancing around up there, trying to get either the returner or during a baseline rally. If one of the Bryans is up at net and there's an opponent or both opponents are back rallying, they're just moving around a lot because they're trying to get the person to take their eye off the ball and watch what they're doing. So just to echo what Feisal was saying, and Steve has a follow-up. How often would you recommend returning at the net person to keep them honest? Once every other game or often? So basically the question is, the guy up at net is super active. How often should you try and go down his line to keep him honest?
I'd go at least one time in a game, but hey, if it's working and you can see his body language is getting frustrated, gang up on him. Gang up on him. So I'm not going to give something definitive, but at least one time in a game just to keep him honest. But if it's working, keep going more. Because the more you do it, frustration level, confidence is going to break down. Then you've really broken the guy down. Then you guys can pick on him. So hope that helped too.
Kelly is asking for some general comments, and Kelly, if you want, if you actually have a more specific question, feel free to post it. But about hitting in the middle, right? So how do you general comments about beating a team by kind of splitting the uprights and going in the middle?
If a team, going down the middle is the best bet. Why? It causes confusion, and it obviously reduces the angles. So that is an option as far as shot placement. But going down the middle, to me, is a good option. But a lot of times, let me see if I can get a traditional formation here. I have it here. To me, every shot has an angle. So if this player came in, if I'm going down the middle, right here, let's say I'm going cross court. It could be down the middle, cross court, or down the middle, down the line. I think I got a better graphic here. Do you agree every shot has an angle to it? Right? Now, if I'm going down the middle, people normally think down the middle is going straight for this center line right here. The only way you can hit a true down the middle shot based on angles, angle of incidence, angle of reflection, is if you're standing closer to the center line on your side. But if this person hits a cross court shot here and I'm going down the middle, angle of incidence, angle of reflection. So I like to break down the middle as down the middle, down the line, or down the middle, cross court. So down the middle is good, especially one of the webinars where, remember we said both players were up and you're going down the middle, you want to hit it on the same side. So down the middle, down the line, down the middle, cross court. I think I'm just jumbling words here, but I hope this is making sense. So I definitely suggest down the middle, but I break down the middle in two aspects: down the middle, cross court; down the middle, down the line. I think this needs to be demonstrated on court. So I hope that helped you on that one.
Cool, cool. So that was the last question. Never mind. Steve is a prolific question asker, and they're good questions. So here we go. Steve fired it out right at as I was making that comment. But Steve asked, if both opponents are at the net and I am forced to lob, should I aim the lob over the person who is closest to the net, or so it will go over both their backhands, assuming they're right-handed?
Okay, now, Steve, right here, you're looking at talking. Okay, anytime you make decisions, okay, there's three things you make decisions with: the geometry of the court, the target area on the opponent's side, and the opponent's tactical tendencies and patterns. What I've been addressing so far is totally based on the geometry of the court. So opponents are both up. If we are in the deuce court, let's see if I can get this here, and the opponents are both up, you want to lob the ball on the same, like geometry says. So for example, these opponents, let's say they've come up to the net, and we are one up, one back on the deuce side of the court, right? Our weight is on the right-hand side of the court, our deuce court. If I lob over this person's head, I'm reducing their angles. So geometry says when the opponents are both up, lob to the opponent whose team weight, whose side we're on. So we're on the deuce side of the court, this person's on the deuce court. Lob more toward this person's side. That's the geometry of the court. If this person's a stronger player, maybe stronger overhead, then we may want to lob over the person on the opponent's deuce court. The disadvantage of that is you're now giving this person more angle. So I suggest both options, but if you play against players you don't know, I'd go with the geometry. Lob on the side we're on. If it's not working, then adjust your lob positioning based on that. So I advocate doing both. I'd first start off with going to the same side lob to reduce the opponent's angles. Then look at the opponent's considerations to decide if we need to adjust. Hopefully that helped.
Sarah asks, can you try alternate positions during a match with a new partner, or would training be advised? Kind of the question is, what's the balance? I guess if you're with a new partner, how wacky should you get with your formations?
All right. It depends on that partner, okay? Is that partner more, let's go to personality type, more an introvert or more an extrovert, okay? If I'm an introvert, I'm not going to want to try things much. If I'm an extrovert, I'm all for it. So the best solution would be you and your partner or your teammates actually train all this. Because remember, you're only going to try something in a match if you're comfortable doing it. Now, with the same token, let's say I'm playing with you and we've never played before, and all of a sudden things aren't working. We're like, now what do we do? Well, let's try this formation. And I've never tried it before. I'm definitely going to want to try it, but you're only going to try something doing it. So make sure all the teammates on your team practice these different moves. If not, what type of personality does your partner have to try that out in the heat of the moment without being used to it? Okay, so that's a tough one. But I just, hey, go for it. If it's, if it's not working, you got to try something different. So hopefully that answers that question.
Edgar asks, when hitting low to the feet of the incoming opponent, you anticipate them hitting up. You should then close in to pick off the volley. How close should you come to the net? I've been burned coming too close by an opponent who hit a good angle away from me.
Okay. We spoke about the hover and smother positions. Let me explain now. We had this before. All right. Playing the net, to me, is zones 1, 2, maybe 3. All right? Zone 1 is what I call the kill zone. I suggest closing into zone 1 if you know you can put the ball away and it's not coming back. Zone 2, I like to break down as zone 2 up, which is mean closer to the net, or zone 2 back. So, and I call it the smother and the hover. If you're trying to pick off the shot and you know they're not going to lob, I would actually smother, close into zone 2 up or close into zone 1. If you find they're lobbing, I question why you're smothering. Have you been trained to read technical cues to say, hey, I don't want to smother, I need to hover? So that's more of an anticipation based on geometry and trends and patterns. So if you want to close in, but remember, if you're going to close into zone 1, you better be very comfortable you're going to get that nice, easy floater. If not, I would smother around zone 2. Zone 2 up. If you're smothering the wrong time, maybe it's your anticipative cues, you probably need to be hovering. While you're hovering, you're anticipating a lob from them. So zone 2 back or zone 3 up is the hovering position. I think we did talk, well, yes, we did talk about this in the webinar, how to handle lobbers.
Yep.
So hopefully that answered yes.
Yep. No, we covered the hover and the smother, which I think is a great concept, just because the question of where should you position yourself when you know how to handle lobbers is such a common question. So that appears to be the extent of the questions. So maybe I'll give people 15, 20 more seconds, something like that, maybe a minute. I don't know exactly what the delay is, just to get in final parting shots or final follow-up questions. But Feisal, this was great stuff as always. I mean, it's just I was kind of reviewing some of the presentations, the earlier ones over the last couple days, and there's so many just sort of gems and subtle pieces of content that I think are so powerful, whether it's the W movement formation when you're at net trying to set up with the poach and everything. We got 2 late questions coming in from Steve and Dave, and then I think I'm gonna cap it there. But Steve says, with all 4 players at the net, when would you recommend a lob volley?
All right, all 4 players at the net. That tells me diddly. You could be in zone 2 or zone 1. Okay? I suggest, assuming you could lob volley no matter what. If the players are zone 1 closing in, that's a good time to do a lob volley. If they're zone 2 up, that's a good time to do a lob volley. If they're zone 2 back, you're going to eat that ball if you try a lob volley. So assuming you got the control to hit a lob volley whenever you want, that's the assumption I'm taking, I would suggest, based on opponent positioning, to do it if the opponent's or an opponent is in zone 1 or zone 2 up. So hopefully that'll help.
And Dave asks, and then we'll cap it with this question. Dave says, I've tried the hover back position on opponents who like to lob, but I find it really hard to get volleys in that position because the angles are so much wider. Any tips?
Okay, so you're in zone 2. You are hovering because you're anticipating a lob. So I'm assuming they're lobbing back and you're hitting an overhead. Is that correct? I need more information.
So I think I was reading another question in chat. So Feisal, can you briefly repeat what you said? Just because.
The question was, it's David, right?
Oh, it's Dave, yeah.
Dave says he's normally hovering, but his volleys don't have any angles. Well, number one, because you're further back, I'm assuming you're hovering because the opponents are lobbing. If you're hitting volleys.
Sorry to cut you off, Feisal. I must have misread the question wrong. He says he hovers to cover the lob, but as a result, the volleys he gets from his opponents are much more difficult to handle because his opponents have more angles on him and can get it lower and so on.
Okay, David, your anticipatory skills need some work, because if you're hovering and they're hitting ground strokes, I question why you're hovering. maybe we need to work on some anticipative cues so that if you know they're not going to be able to lob, you should be smothering. And I think in one of the webinars, we actually spoke about when you hover and smother. So my question is, are you anticipating it incorrectly, or are they just pulling a low percentage shot off? So based on what you're telling me, David, is you're hovering, but you're happening to be volleying. So I question if you should be closer in zone 2, smothering instead of hovering. So that's more of an anticipative thing.
Yeah, and Dave said, he followed up with, no, they stopped lobbing because I'm back, but they have better angles to hit, and it's harder to close the net.
Okay, so they stopped lobbing because you're hovering, right? So my suggestion is stay in the hover position, and as they're about to hit, because they've seen trends and patterns, move in from the hover to the smother. So now you can bait them. I'm baiting you, you're going to lob, I know that. So you're in zone 2 hovering. But now they're starting to change because, okay,